if you remember the story about when the guy had attacked Paul Pelosi, basically he was proud of himself, and the GOP emboldened him because, of course, the GOP is the party of political violence. Now, David DePape seems proud of himself. Now, last Friday, a judge had ordered the release of a video footage that appears to show David DePape beating the crap out of Paul Pelosi, who's the husband of the then Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, with a hammer after refusing to listen to police orders to drop the weapon. Now, the video is hard to fucking watch, and showing that the suspect tackling Pelosi to the ground and viciously pounding him with the hammer while the police attempt to pull him off the 82-year-old man. And bizarrely, however, in a phone call to a San Francisco reporter that was made the same day, David DePape said his only regret was that the violence wasn't worse than what he had had done. Now, now that you have seen the body cam footage, I have an important message for everyone in America. DePape had told the KTBU's Amber Lee of that particular news channel. He basically said you're welcome, and then he didn't really give an apology, but he did say that he wished he could have that he and then he's but he like I said, he didn't really give an apology. The way he put it was that he wished he got more of them. Um, like many of the January 6th Klan insurrectionists who have been arrested, DePape appears to have no interest in backing down from Donald Trump's fueled conspiracy theories that led to violence. Um, Instead, the chilling audio hints at a man who feels confident in his false accusations and supported in his belief that the Trumpist agenda must be forced upon America through violence. No. Now, DePape is fucking delusional in many regards, but he is sadly right about one thing. His pro-violent views have a lot of support from Republicans who and both politicians and voters. And while he took it to the next level, DePape was only acting on the correct interpretation of Trump's implicit message. Since Democrats can't be beaten at the ballot box, power must be seized. That power must be seized through violence. And it's a view that, while they often avoid saying out loud, is widely backed by the rest of the GOP party. The party, after all, has gone out of its way to reaffirm support for Trump in the wake of the deadly Klan riot that he unleashed on the Capitol 2 years ago. Um, Now, DePape is getting support from Republicans in both fairly direct ways and in many ways that are larger and more diffuse. The more direct approval comes in the form of jokes and conspiracy theories about the attack on Pelosi. Now, former Republican Congressman Adam Kinzinger had tweeted a reminder of how many powerful Republicans engaged in this in the immediate aftermath of the attack. He mistakenly attributes the Seattle Times, but it was in fact the New York Times that compiled this list. Um, a lot of people were saying that it was Paul Pelosi's gay lover, which it wasn't. Um, a lot of people on Twitter, just desperate to muddy the waters around this, had quibbled with the phase, made fun, arguing that many of these people merely asked questions about the attack. This, of course, is fucking nonsense. But the questions were actually conspiracy theories, most of which were grossly homophobic, suggesting that the attack was something other than right-wing political violence, and nor is there a thick line between making fun and conspiracy theories, and not just because the latter often is accompanied by tasteless jokes. Now, both conspiracy theories and jokes are about minimizing violence for the purpose of sending the same implicit message of winking support, a message that the Pape clearly picked up on. Now, even after the disturbing footage of the attack was released, the right-wing media figures continued to push asinine conspiracy theories, implying that Pelosi somehow had faked this, or was complicit in his own attempted murder, which also wasn't true. He did not fake this, and he was not trying to commit his own murder. It's unlikely that many, if any, people actually at all believe this fucking nonsense. The purpose of such conspiracy theories is to continue justifying a refusal to condemn this attack, i.e., just another way to signal support for the Pape's alleged crime. As gross as all of this fucking is, it's sadly not surprising. This isn't this isn't just about a couple of dozen prominent Republicans finding ways to downplay Pelosi's suffering either. But in the 2 years since the January 6th Klan insurrection, Republicans have made it clear that they have fully embraced political violence, and sure, they'll whine and fuss if anyone dares say so out loud, because gaslighting the public is part of the abusive stance that they've taken toward our democracy. But they're still the party of Trump, and after January 6th, that means being the party of domestic terrorism. That Trump that Trump is still the leader of the GOP should not be in doubt, and no matter how much wish casting is done on MSNBC about his low-energy campaign events. Now, under Speaker Kevin McCarthy, the Republicans who control the House are gearing up to run a massive revenge campaign on anyone who took a stand against Trump overthrowing our democracy. McCarthy has already removed two California Democrats, Representatives Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell, from the Intelligence Committee for the obvious purpose of punishing them for speaking out against Trump. And all of this sends a strong, unmistakable signal. McCarthy and House Republicans aren't just fine with what happened on January 6th, but they would do anything in their power to shield him from consequences. Now, despite the wistful talk among some GOP elite about someone beating Trump in the 2024 primary, most signs suggest the party is still in Trump's thrall. Now, Trump sycophant Ronna McDaniel, fucking fat ass, won her race to continue being the head of the Republican National Committee. She did face some challengers, by and large, but there were people who didn't think she was Trumpy enough and believe that runs up against the reality of her unswerving devotion to Trump. And I still can't figure out how somebody can have devotion to him when that fat fucker doesn't have loyalty to anybody. It is true that Trump has some potential primary opponents in 2024, but notably, that they tend to avoid criticizing him for his attempted Klan coup. Now, Trump's biggest competitor right now is Florida's Governor Ron DeSantis, who is focused on complaining that Trump isn't enough of a far right authoritarian. But they all know that political violence is a bad campaign form for the deal, and it's dead on arrival with the Republican base. But the acceptable opinions for Republican leaders can only fall in the narrow range between I'm fine with right-wing domestic terrorism and I'm a big fan of murdering your political opponents. Now, listening to the DePape tape, what's remarkable is how much he sounds like Trump. The only real difference is that DePape is more concise and coherent. Trump can never keep his remarks to a lean 2 minutes, preferring instead hour-plus stem winders when he's whining, lying, and inciting violence. DePape's suggestions of a Democratic conspiracy against Americans are just Trump's big lie. DePape's complaints that he didn't go far enough echo Trump's post-January 6th rhetoric, painting the Klan insurrectionists as heroes when in fact they're traitors, and complete with false promises of money and pardons for those who committed violence on his behalf. Now, as Heather Digby Parton noted at Salon on Monday, most of the coverage of Trump's newly invigorated 2024 run for president, or squatter as I like to call it, is delicately sidestepping reminders that he incited the violent Klan insurrection, and it continues to be difficult for the mainstream media to accept that the GOP has embraced the violent fascist side. The old Beltway framework around politics, which treats the two parties as roughly equivalent, has been false for a fucking long time. But it's grotesquely so in the Trump era. Now, Democrats are a normal center-left political party. Republicans have turned away from democracy and towards political violence. It certainly would be better for everyone if this weren't true, but it fucking is. DePape isn't some fringe character, but he's a reflection of who the Republicans have become in their mega iteration. And if you want to take a look at this guy, the guy is fucking ugly. There's DePape on one side. God, the guy's fucking ugly. That's probably due to years of inbreeding. And then there's Trump's ugly ass. But still. But if you like the video, you can get the video, like, and subscribe to my channel, RVW King. You can also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out. And if you want to support my work even further, you can donate to my Patreon link, which you can find in the About section of YouTube. And for just a little as a few bucks a month, your donation can help go a long way. And thanks for listening. And